how do we take your business success and turn that into personal wealth so it gives you time, option and freedom? I haven't got the time to do this.
So Christian Mather is not a recruiter. He's never filled a role externally in the recruitment industry in his life. But since January 2026, over 100 recruitment founders have reached out to him on LinkedIn with the same question: how do I get out? Now, Christian is a wealth planner who exclusively works with founders in the recruitment industry. And the conversation he's having with them every week is one that most founders in our industry have never actually had properly. This is not about selling a business. It's not about adding headcount, multiples, or earnouts. It's about one number. One single number that tells you when you're financially free.
In some aspects, it's completely insane.
He's had meetings with 60 founders since January, and the pattern is exactly the same. They've either scaled up and taken on staff, or they're planning to do so. They've watched top billers earn more money than them personally, and sat in the office on their own on a Friday night thinking, why am I putting in all this work? Like, what's the point? One of Christian's clients had 16 staff doing 1.6 million in net fee income, but only 150k EBITDA. But the most alarming bit was the founder was doing 80% of the billings himself. What are the biggest financial mistakes you see in recruitment founders make?
I think the biggest mistake is not planning, not putting money away, not...
So this episode isn't really about investments and pensions and tax wrappers. It's about the question most recruitment founders are just too busy to ask. What is my freedom number, and how close am I to that already? Because the answer might surprise you. So this is a brand new episode of the RAG Podcast with Christian Mather, the wealth expert that recruitment owners are phoning first. Christian, welcome to the RAG Podcast.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you having me on, and the conversation I've been looking forward to having since we originally met.
Like September, October time?
Yeah, it was around that time, wasn't it? Yeah, so...
getting on for about 6 months.
Yeah. So been looking forward to it anyway.
Well, mate, you're not my usual guest. I purposely don't like to interview vendors to the industry because I just think every other show does that. I like to keep it clean with recruitment founders, but this season I've touched a lot on profit maximization and kind of the vision of different types of agencies. And I genuinely think the stuff you do is so relevant to where my audience is. So I thought, I'm interested in this shit. I reckon they are. I hope they are anyway. So look, I'd like you to give me a quick introduction. I've done one, but I never do it justice. And then I want to have, let's get into the story of you, and let's try and give people listening today some genuine value. I want people to leave this episode thinking that was worth an hour. Like, I've genuinely changed the way I'm thinking about my finances.
Yeah. Okay. I think if we're going to do that, I'll keep it short and sweet because no one really wants to know too much. But I think ultimately for myself, I've been working in finance for over 15 years, advising people. I've been working with business owners for the last 6, and specifically recruitment owners for about the last two and a half. Ultimately, there's financial advisors and financial advisors. There's people that are just, I've got some money and tell you what to do with it. And there's people that will be strategic about it and go, how do we take your business success and turn that into personal wealth so it gives you time, option and freedom? And that's what it's all about, isn't it? We don't, we're all running businesses so we can enjoy life and do the shit we want to do.
Yeah. And I think you've talked about a freedom number and things in the past. So I want to get into that. And I agree. I talk about it a lot. I think your business should be helping you achieve a lifestyle goal, not the other way around. Your lifestyle shouldn't be all about building a business. I mean, if that's what really wakes you up in the morning, you just want to work all day, great. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I want the freedom number. I want the light at the end of the tunnel. But I want to do it in a way that is not traditional. So why have you niched specifically into recruitment founders, right? So you said you were working with business owners across the board. Why recruitment founders?
It's a very simple story, actually. And, like you, I think we met originally through LinkedIn. And I was doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, getting great engagement of it, but it was just all other financial advisors that were saying yes, and they're not going to come and ask me for any advice. Work with a coach, and he said, you've got a niche. And I was like, well, who's on LinkedIn all the time? Recruitment owners. But actually, since I started that, it was a little bit of, let's give this a try. But straight away, I realized there's a gap. There's a gap between, how much time people put into building the businesses and sometimes make mistakes trying to build a business other people think they should build, compared to how much time they're actually putting into their own self and what they want from it, so they can actually, again, do what they want and have, I call it a freedom number, because that's what it is. It's financial freedom. It's not stopping work. It's not like, I get to that number and I'm going to put my slippers on and start watching daytime TV. It's actually giving you freedom of choice, so you can do what you want without the worry going forward. And implicitly, it changes it. So the opportunity came from recruitment specifically, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of that and the businesses that they're building. And it's something we've talked about before, which is, the old metrics of headcount and bigger offices and global expansion and all of that. Is that getting you to your goal? So the freedom number is just giving you a goal that's personal that you can use your business to achieve.
Yeah. Was there anything other than, well, it might that might be the area, but was there anything other than LinkedIn and the fact that you can find these people pretty easily on LinkedIn and they're there? Was there anything other than that about the industry that made it unique, do you think?
Yeah, I think there is. It's a meritocracy. So you can come from nothing, you can go to Eton and you can be a great recruiter, and everyone in between. So there's low barriers to entry to get it in. And so actually the people that are in it, unlike my own industry, which I hate hanging around with financial people because they're boring. But unlike my own industry, it rewards, hard work, effort, and skill from that perspective. It's something where business owners can make money quickly, they can scale quickly. So the opportunity, is there. And again, my clients range from about 26 to about 60, and from that perspective, And a lot of other industries, like if you want to be an architect, most architects, by the time they make any money, are 50, 60. So I like that meritocracy and the fact that actually anyone can do it. You've just got to have the right attitude and skill set for it.
Funny, I actually went to uni on an architecture course and lasted 2 weeks because of that. Turned up knowing nothing, but I was good at PE and art at college, and I liked my art teacher more than my PE teacher. So he was like, "Be an architect." So it sounded good. It sounded like there's money in it. I was like, "Yeah, don't know anything about it." Wasn't overly passionate about buildings or anything. Got there day one, and they made us do like an introduction, and everyone was going around the room talking about like they'd done like HND in engineering, and they were interested in cavity wall insulation metrics and all this. And I was like, I'm just in the room because I can draw. Like I'm just a decent drawer. I'm in the wrong room here, clearly. And then they basically said, right, you're in the wrong room if. And they wrote a list on this board. I'll never forget the guy called Eamon Cronley, an Irish guy. And he wrote a list of things that basically myths about being an architect.
Yeah.
And if you're in the room for any of these reasons, you're in the wrong place. And I was in there for all of them. I was in the wrong room, and a lot of it was about money. And it just wasn't about making money. Which I was like, 7-year in education to not make any money.
My old housemate was an architect. That's why I probably bring it up, because
what? I mean, I think if you open your own firm after a bit, you can do quite well. One of my mates has, but crazy. So no, I get you. So, but again, about recruitment for me was a game changer. Like. Properly putting my head down for 18 months and I'm buying a house in London. Like that ain't happening to a 26, 27-year-old in many other businesses when you got a 2-2 degree from Sheffield Hallam. Like, I wasn't an academic machine. So you spotted the industry, and then you've clearly spotted the same thing as me. That is, over the years, this industry has been driven by external metrics that have worked, grow headcount, scale, build offices. You've said it, but you mentioned quite vocally about like I think it's 0.3% of the industry sells their businesses. Like, so talk me through that realization that you've had and how that translates into what people should really be doing.
Okay, so it's like anything. You try to understand where how people can get out of recruitment. Because look, I think it's fair to say, no, not many people, because there's the occasional one or two, but virtually no one is 15 years old and says, you know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be an executive recruiter for the rest of my life. Most people fall into it because, like we've said, it's just a good way of making money. You get rewarded quickly. So sort of looking into it, and the numbers come from the REC, and it's just based on trade and private equity sales against how many companies there are. That look, there are a lot of micro lifestyle businesses, but even accounting for them, it's still a fraction of a percent. And ultimately, you can give yourself a better chance of selling, but it's like when you sell a house. Is there someone there to buy it that wants it enough to pay you the money you want for it? And also, you're selling this thing that you've put your life, blood, sweat, and tears into. And often people won't want to accept what people are actually willing to pay for it. So there's a clear gap there that people are building businesses thinking, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to make myself the money, and they pile all the profits into offices and doing all of this. And the conversation I have, like we said at the moment, I've spoke to I've had 100 inquiries, I've spoke to 60 founders since January about this, and it's a real regular conversation. Oh, we started scaling up, we put all this money in, we were taking less out than our top billers, thinking like, why are they driving the cars? We're still sitting here on a Friday night at 7 o'clock. They're going to the pub, like they're on these great commission schemes. What's the point? We've got 16, 20 people here, and actually, per head, they're not doing very much. So what we've done is we've scaled it back down, we've kept it to the founders, we've got all the support staff in place, and hey presto, we've got EBITDA of £500,000, a million quid. We can take that money out, extract it from the business, and that can give us our financial freedom. And by the way, we've got more time on it. So
are these people coming to you knowing that, or are they coming to you at the point of, I've got too many people, too many costs, and I don't know where my future is?
A bit of both. Some people, I'll be honest, some people are like, I had someone come to me and recently, and they had 16 staff. They were doing 1.6 million net fee income, but only doing about 150,000 EBITDA. And I broke it down. They were doing 80% of the billings nearly. And I'm like, what are the other 14 people doing in your business? Like from I'm not a business consultant, but I can see, I can see the problem. And they're sitting there saying, oh, we want to make sure that we're 43 now, and we don't want to be doing this for another 10 years. And it's like, you're going to have to make some fundamental changes because no one's buying that business, are they? No. And normally what they're saying to me in that case is, oh, we need to get more better people. Like that's sort of where they sit. Some of the others are coming to me thinking, what should I be doing? Should I be building this business out, or should I stay I am? I had, a young woman yesterday, 29 years old, doing $500,000 on her own, working 20 hours a week. And she's like, oh, I'm thinking of taking people on. I'm like, why? Like literally, you told me you're drawing 50 grand a month, 50 grand a year out of the business. You're hardly spending anything. You're building up these cash reserves. Why are you going to go and start taking it on? You could, you could build your life from that, do that for the next 10 years.
Out in about 3 years.
Exactly.
At that rate.
So, but I think it's his question. It's because people are always thinking, what should I be doing? What do people expect me to do? Rather than going, what business is going to work for me? And for some people, look, Sean, people that have got great businesses with 20, 30 heads on, and they are genuinely like just the CEO or shareholder in that business now. But it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there.
I guess today we're not really focusing on them people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking to the ones that are at the other end where they've either scaled and they're not seeing the returns, like as in the cash flow's crap because they've got too many overheads, or they've scaled it back down already and they're like, now I need to go, or they're at the point where they're early days or they've not scaled it but they're thinking I need more people. I had a call yesterday of a guy as well, a guy who's doing his business is not doing amazing numbers, and he's grown a couple of people around him, and he wants to put more in to get out. And I'm like, until you've nailed it with the team you've got, and really you can make that profitable. There's only 3 of them. Like you 3 could be really profitable. Don't put more people in because you're adding more cost, more complexity, more people's problems.
Time,
like
as well.
I think he's so desperate to get the hell out of delivery. But I'm like, but you've got all these jobs and you're not filling them. It ain't because of the people. It's because you got shit jobs in the wrong companies, and they're not qualified. They're not exclusive. They're not high value. Like they're it's bad lead gen effectively. So there's other things that people don't think about. Well, if we look at the number, right, because there's something I've been looking at myself, is this freedom number. And I know you've talked a lot about people think it, they might think it's a bit bigger than it actually is. So can you break it down for us what you mean by that?
So in the sense, I think if I went out and asked everyone, like most owners what the freedom number is, most of them will massively overestimate, because they do some mental maths and they think, oh, I spend 100 grand a year now, I'm going to live for 50 years, so I need a 5 million quid. That's a sort of, or they think that's what my bid. Someone's told them they've got £1 million profit business and they'll get 4 or 5 times, so I should get 5 million quid. So it tends to come from a place of either them doing some mental maths that ultimately isn't quite there, or doing some sort of quasi valuation of the business. So ultimately, the reason it often comes out a little bit smaller, because they're forgetting things like, well, you're going to invest some of the money, and that's going to grow as well. You might get, you're not going to need that money straight away as you continue working, so you get the compounded on it. And ultimately, it comes down to it. It's a bit mathematical. I'm not going to go into it, but a very simple rule of thumb, and I put a lot of this is, what do you want to be able to spend on a monthly basis? Okay, that's then on a year by year basis got to grow with inflation, because stuff's getting more expensive all the time. But to give us that, what you need now, if you get that, I want 10 grand on a monthly basis, and you times that by 300, that gives you that gives you your 3 million quid.
Where do you get that 300 number? Is that just an insider number that you multiply that and you get into a good point?
Yeah, it's academic research. They've done it, so without getting too technical on it, they've done it on what you can withdraw from your assets on a regular basis, and with growth, so that basically the capital will remain. And
that's roughly a 7% growth with a 4%.
Somewhere, somewhere. Yeah, but without getting too technical on it, it just depends on when, at what part of the journey and where the markets are that you start with it. So the thing that says as well, it says, if you're in the very worst situation and all the markets were dropping and it being a terrible decade, you'd still be able to fund yourself. If markets are favourable for you, that money will grow and grow and grow. And it'll be, because the biggest risk for me isn't just running out of money, it's basically dying with too much, if I'm honest with you, because it means that you haven't been able to do all the stuff that you wanted to do in your life, help your family, travel, go to the places that you want to go. Fear is the biggest thing that stops people actually doing the things that they want to do.
And you gave me that book, Die with Zero, that I already had.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because there's two ways of looking at. I've been on some training and they've been kind of almost the opposite, like build trusts for your family and think about their future beyond you. And like, there's a balance between the two, isn't there? There's a balance of like spending everything and leaving your family with next to nothing.
Yeah.
And enjoying your life to the max, or not doing enough for other people and then dying and leaving it and just thinking, well, I worked for free for so many years. Like, I think for me, it's about an allocation of knowing exactly what I need and then knowing that I'll never run out. I think that's the goal for me. I'll never, if I've got a freedom number on an annual basis, like you said, that if I'm getting that kind of money coming in, inflation dependent, I can still live a certain way, then I wouldn't need to do anything beyond that. I don't think I'm the guy that needs to then invest in a private jet or something stupid. I'm not asked, and I'd love to then leave through different insurances and what have you, leave my family in a good position when I'm gone. But I'm turning 40 this year, and it just feels, I don't know, that number just feels so like pertinent to get this right and to get everything organised.
I reckon I get most inquiries with people between 40 and 45.
Yeah.
More so, often more so the men of that age. I think it's a certain, when you've got kids and you've got responsibility, because there's a point that, like, I'm 42, you're sort of in the prime of life in some ways, but in other ways you're starting to think, well, I don't want to keep going at this pace forever. I want to make sure my kids, so you've got all these sort of conflicting things. And I think often there's, the tactics of what you need to do, which, I'll be honest with you, someone asked me this question. He said, well, why don't you put it in, in Claude or ChatGPT? And it's like, well, it'll give you a good answer, But what it won't do is help you make the right decisions, and it won't
That's what I'm
help you
going to say.
execute.
What's your argument with AI? Because it can give you a full investment strategy now for 10 years and
I think it's absolutely.
compound
I
interest.
think it's amazing. I think it's going to change, like in recruitment. And we're not here to get in this conversation, but I think it's going to augment the work that we do, because often a lot of the work we do is regulatory heavy reports. You've had some advice before. You get these like reports that you never read, but we've got to do them. And ultimately, that's going to take over that. The technical side of what we do is 90% of there. I think, it's a bit like law. You need someone that knows to check it over. I think that the value now comes in the execution, the accountability, the relationships, the understanding of your family dynamics, and that's what people want. They want that human intervention.
Yeah, someone, is it Mike? Mike Ames said to me, do you know Mike?
I spoke to him at the expo last week.
He's a good lad, and he's coming on the show soon, because he's another one who I just think speaks exactly how I see the world. He said his financial advisor was always seen as the top man's top man.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said to me.
Yeah, someone you refer to and you lean on, and so it is in a world dominated by AI. It's about having someone you can go to that knows you and can help you make a better decision.
I'm that one person that I work for you, not the business in that sense. And a lot of my clients, as we build the relationship, I'll be the first person to come when it's even big business decisions, because I'm there to challenge them. And ultimately, I'm not trying to sell them something into the business. I'm not trying to gain. The more profitable the business is, it's the better it is for us, because we can get them to the outcomes quicker. We can manage more money for them. We can do that. So a lot of my clients come and say, what do you think here? I had a client just before Christmas. They were selling their business. They had an offer on the table, and ultimately things started changing. Literally, they rang them on Christmas Eve and said, "Like, if you don't sign this deal, the multiples have gone down. If you don't sign this deal," and he walked away from it. But I was the first person he called, and I said, my question to him was, "How would you feel that you're not going to hit your number by selling at that level, and then you're telling me anyway that you don't think it's enough for your business, and if you work another year and you get that EBITDA up, you'll get that multiple up?" And he said, rang him up and said, "No thanks, on your bike." So it's that important decision making and having someone that you can trust that's
in your corner,
that's not conflicted by you. The brokers want to sell it because they want their fee. The lawyers want to sell it because they want to work. They want to move on to the next thing, don't they?
Yeah. What, in terms of a founder comes to you and says, "My business is my pension," because I've heard that myself, and you've talked about that online. Like, people think that they've got the pension in their business, or just like, I think traditionally your house was your pension. Like, I bought, pay my mortgage off. So you've either got people who want to do one or both of those things. Like, I'll pay my mortgage off, put all my money there, and I'll keep working. My business will work for me. What do you think of that as a strategy?
Start with the house. Dead simple. It's a liability, but it's also the place where your kids are brought up. You've got your memories, and and even what people call downsizing, to take money out of it. Normally they want to live in a better area. Normally they want to do a house. So by the time they downsize, they don't take much out of it. You've got fees, and so it's not. And also, we both, everyone on here, council tax bills. It costs you money to keep up a house. The bigger it is, the more it costs. So for me, that's just a myth. You don't want to bet your future on your family home. The second one, the business, is the pension. It's a little bit the same, isn't it? You're gambling everything on immaculate conception, that someone's going to come along just at the right time. You're not going to get ill. You're not going to have a dispute with your partner. The market's not going to change on you. Just at the right time that you want to quit work, someone's going to pay you a multiple in that business so that you can, and even look, when you sell a business, often there's earn-outs, and you've got to work in it long, and you've got to do all of those things. So you're just gambling on one variable, which is your business. Whereas,
what do you think about paying off your mortgage, or like putting all your money into your own house and then having, because that will contribute to your freedom number in the fact that your overheads will drop, right?
100. Look, I think you don't want to be carrying debt long term. and everyone's like, look, there's a spreadsheet answer of like, this is the ideal thing you can do. Like mostly it'd be, well, just pay the mortgage rate as it is and invest the money and then use that to do. But there's an emotional factor. Some people really like paying the mortgage off is like the weight off the shoulders and everything. Some people are like, I don't mind having debt. I don't mind having debt on my balance sheet, personal or business. I'm quite happy for that to sit there. I'll just make my payment for it, and at the end, when I've got all my money, I'll pay it off or we'll do.
Well, the way I look at it is, if you can build your freedom asset that's paying you quicker, like even if you pay your mortgage off, you still need income, right?
Yeah.
So you need income, otherwise you can't just live on the fact you've got your house paid. Like, so the money you'd have to put into your house to get to that point could be invested faster elsewhere. That's kind of how I look at it. If you, again, depending on your mortgage rate, your interest rate, but if it's say 3% average now, you should be able to get a better return than 3% if you invest your money. That's kind of my mindset around it now.
There's another mindset as well, but your mortgage, of course, it's going down because you're paying if you're paying a repayment, and even if it is interest only, inflation's eroding away the value of that loan. So you've got two things working for you in that sense. Is like, yes, you're paying it, but so you're paying the balance down, but at the same time, inflation's just eroding it away for you year by year. And sometimes maybe the best thing is to look at, and it can be a halfway house, just something like overpaying your mortgage by 5% a year, 10% a year, take years off the loan rather than putting big cash sums into doing that. Because most of the people we're working with, they've got successful.
How do you find out
businesses.
What's your way of working out what's important to people?
Well, I suppose that's the skill, and that's where you become more of a coach and a guide than you become that. So ultimately, I think it's really important that people sit down with their significant other, the partner, the spouse, whoever it might be, because we're talking about personal decisions and personal life that you want to build together. And ultimately, we do it. I do it through, first and foremost, a bit of a questionnaire just to get a handle of what kind of person they are and what they are. And then basically, it's a bit like if you've ever been through any kind of coaching. It's ultimately going there and challenging their assumptions about things and digging deeper until you find out what their real purpose is, what's important to them, for them to answer. Because I think a lot of time, look, how much time do me and you spend on our businesses? Like literally at the moment, probably me a lot more than you, but most people will be listening. But most people, it won't just be a 40-hour week. But are you willing to put 5 or 10 hours in a year to like making sure that business is going to provide you for the life you want and answering the kind of questions that you're asking me? And that's a real question. I ask people, are you willing to put the time in? I haven't got the time to do this. It's like, you haven't got the time not to do it.
If you're going to hire someone offshore, make sure you pick the right partner. Today's sponsor, Remote Recruitment, are my partner of choice. And the reason is they put every single South African hire through a 15-point vetting system. They run a bespoke trial built with you so you see what they're like before they even enter your business. They do the final interview after proof of performance. And there's a free 12-month replacement if they're not right. So there's no like seeing random CVs and loads of interviews. It's just a really seamless process that is stringent, it's organized, and it works. And if they don't work it out, look, they'll replace it really, really quick. So you don't need to worry about national insurance, NI, setting up companies. They manage the whole piece without you worrying. Now, if you're a RAG listener, you get 5% off your first hire. You get a free remote hiring roadmap, and they've got an ROI calculator that you can look at back office and business development roles and see the impact they can have on your business. If you'd like to access this amazing offer, go to www.remoterecruitment.co.uk/RAG.
Yeah. When it comes to like your spend as well, like you talk about that freedom number, what misconceptions do people have on how much they need monthly? Like, do they? Because I guess the Diary Zero book talks about the fact that people actually don't spend more as they get older. Like, we're probably at the peak where your kids are like teenagers and maybe before they go to uni, and then suddenly things will naturally maybe slow down a bit. Like,
it's often why we use like today's income, today's expenditure as a good guide, because you're right. kids get more expensive in other ways as they get older. You know, particularly in the world we're living in today. If you've been half successful, you're probably going to help them on the property ladder. You know, weddings. You know, all these. You know, they're getting a bit of debt, and you want. You know, and they come to the bank and mum and dad to help them out. And that's a reality. You can't. They're the unknown unknowns. You can't legislate for what might happen in those situations. I think with regards to how
do what my mum do and say I've got nothing to give you.
Yeah. But that works out. Yeah, but generally we're speaking about people in the businesses. And look, I think you're right. Really, when you stop work, if you do it properly and you've got a proper plan behind it, that should be your maximum spending time, because you've got time, money and energy, and we don't know how much time we've ever got. Yeah, and we talk about lifespans and health spans. So yeah, lifespans. You know, if you're going to live till you're 90, but there ain't many 80-year-olds climbing up Mount Kilimanjaro or going to Morocco or doing anything, are there? So you've got, you tend to spend. It actually goes the other way. You know, your spending goes down, and then it might flick up near the end. There's inevitably you might need care and things like that. And financial planning there's a lot of science behind it, but there's a lot of art, because we're dealing with humans and money and emotion.
So there's people who think they need more on a monthly basis, and you'll help them determine they probably don't.
But and I counter that as well. Business owners as well. One thing that they don't often think about what they do spend is what they put through the business. Travel, expenses, all these things. These things that we naturally put through our business. They have to. Once you stop working or you get rid of the business, that then comes onto your own balance sheet, and you've got to be able to cover that. So it's a bit of an art, and it's just understanding people and how they break it down.
Do you find that many people actually want to fully stop though as well? Like the thought of completely stopping just sounds shit to me. Like I want to do a couple of hours a day, consulting with people or whatever that I like working with, but that would mean I'd still have a limited company anyway. I'd still be able to do things if I need to do it. Like I would always have that. I think I'd always have a limited company. I'd always be trading in some capacity, even if it's just like I think Mike Ames was doing a couple of days a week. Like that's the kind of mindset I think most founders have.
I spoke to Mike last week. He says he's still doing 3 days a week and a bit extra, and his job for this year is to get to just 3 days a week. So, and he sold 2 businesses, doesn't he? And he was financially free at 38, and he'll tell that story himself, I'm sure. The simple answer is retirement to me, and I think a lot of people, particularly we're in our 40s, retirement to me sounds like an old man. I'd say less hair, but I haven't got that much anyway these days. But an old man in his slippers watching daytime TV. Yeah, like it's almost like, I think it's got a connotation of people almost think of it as giving up, because they think about like the nan or the granddad when they were in their 80s that didn't do very much, and that's what they see retirement as. And I completely agree with you, and I say it to everyone. You cannot just go from running a business to stopping in time. You need things to do. You're an entrepreneurial person. If you've even got to the position where you're financially free in your 40s and 50s, you've done it because you're an entrepreneurial person. You work your arse off. You've done a lot of the right things, and you can't just stop. And it's one of the conversations I have most regularly is it's almost like grief. If you sell a business, it's almost like grief in the sense of you lose your identity. You stop being Sean from Hoxo. You just become Sean. Like it's like, what do you do? I used to run a sort of media agency, or I used to run an agency, and now I'm just Sean. So I 100% agree with you. I think you've got to have things.
But that also affects the freedom number, doesn't it? Because if you say, all right, let's say I'm earning a couple of $100K a year, I'm not going to earn that from work. I'm not going to do the same level of work, but I might earn half of it, might earn a quarter of it. I might bring 50 grand in. I mean, for someone who's building a multi-million pound business, to earn 50K a year is in a consulting capacity, I don't think it's a big ask. So that straight away again makes you think, do you need the full amount that you earn now if you're going to carry on keeping your mind and your business active in some capacity? Probably not. So then your number comes down, and the time frame comes down. Do you know what I mean? So it's instead of 10 years, I might actually achieve that goal in 5.
Yeah. I think all your freedom number really does. I think we focus on it on this like point of it should, like it's that number where I can stop and do nothing anymore. But it's not that. It's the number that you get when you've got enough assets that you can cover your income for the rest of your life. Simple. What it really does is not about stopping, it's about actually, it gives you freedom of choice. It means that you can make different decisions about how you run your business in the future, how you can maybe downscale it, upscale it. Because I had someone say to me recently, I feel like the freedom number is going to be a limiting belief for me. Like I don't like, it's almost putting a ceiling there. And it's like, no, it's not about the ceiling. It's about actually just giving you that freedom that if anything happens in your life, your family's protected, you're protected, you're looked after, you've got everything that you need. And ultimately, you can then make decisions. And I think when people hit that, they often continue working in the business because they're like, well, nothing. I spoke to a guy recently, he's at like late 50s, and like he's higher level exec stuff. And he's like, I just got a few clients. I work 2 days a week, and I earn money. So why not? And just then, I can help my kids. I can do what I want. It stops becoming about wealth building, and it starts becoming about living your life.
Yeah, agreed. And it's crazy how people look at it that way. In terms of investment strategy, then, so there's obviously different options people can go down. I know we're not going into the full detail, but I'm interested in like the pension. Well, I've got a pension. I put money into my pension. I don't max it out. And me and Emma both looked at it like we're about 37, I think 36 when we set it up, and we're like, it's like 20 years away till we can access this, and it's probably not going to be 57 by the time we can access it. It'll be closer to 60 or whatever. They'll move it, move the goalpost. So we were like, corporate investment funds were a better option for us. Maybe they're not tax free, but we can put a bigger lump away every year. We can fast track that growth into the market. What's your thoughts on that? On like actually knowing where you are on the timeline and where to put your money? Because even now, I think 57 to wait for that. If I max my pension out every year, I don't know. Part of me is like I could put most of that somewhere else and have a return by 50, not 57.
I think you make a valid point. Like pensions are great, aren't they? You put 60 grand a year in, you don't pay corporation tax, you save 15 grand on corporation tax already. Money grows tax free, from that perspective. But then, as it stands, you can get 25% out and you still got to pay some tax on it. So there's still things. I think it's about, again, it comes down to strategy, because there's only 3 ways you can invest money. And I'm not talking about what you're investing in. I'm talking to what you put it. You've got tax-free ISA, basically ISAs, which if you're not filling your ISA with 20 grand a year and you like money just grows tax-free and you can take it in and out as you want. I mean, that's where you start. You've got tax-deferred, which is a pension. It's also a business as well, because you are making the decision to grow money within that business that's going to get taxed. And then you still got to be able to get it out of the business to use it in the future, if you want to use it for personal use. So there's a tax deferral on that. And then you've got taxable, which is other accounts, property. If you own property in your own name, it's taxed at source straight away. And then you've got to understand how those 3 pots then come in to be able to provide you a future income. And the decisions you make now about what might happen 20 years in the future, if you don't understand or, how that all might add up, the decisions you might make now might mean actually on a long-term net basis, you end up paying significantly more tax. With regards to the corporation, look, the great thing is it still gives you reserves in your business if you need it. You can build it up as a balance. You can build it up as a balance sheet from that perspective. You can use the money when you want. And I think, like anything, it's just a bit of a balance between all of it. At 30, if you started at 37 and you're putting fairly significant money in, with proper compounding growth, even if you put in 30,000 a year, you're going to have a pretty decent pension pot at the end of it. So I had a guy at 34, he'd already put about £500,000, and I said, you can't put any more money in your pension. He's like, why? Because by the time that compounds up in 25 years, at 8% ish, it's doubling every 10 years. That's $1 million. That's 2 million. You've got to get that money out at some point.
Yeah.
So you've got to think about what's right for you at the time of life and what's going to happen in the future.
What mistakes what are the biggest financial mistakes you see in recruitment founders make? Like the real ones that are costing them money?
One big one is people chasing tax schemes, trying to save tax. Again, I've seen some pretty shocking things happen because the revenue comes back and they load interest on it, and you end up paying more than you ever saved. I think that's certainly thing. I think the biggest mistake is not planning, not putting money away, not extracting, not building it, and not doing it, and putting all your eggs in the business basket, like we talked about as well.
Especially when the business basket is people. Like, in the nicest possible way, people are still people. Like, they make decisions, they change, they have accidents, they get ill. If you're again, I think when you get to a critical mass, like Logan Naidu was on, when you get beyond 50 people in an office, it becomes
I heard that podcast.
And I really like that. I really got that. I understood the value of that. And I think we were at like 40. We were on the way there, but I didn't enjoy it. To get to 50 is a different beast. And for most people listening who've done well in recruitment and then thought, fuck, I'm not paying this, doing this for somebody else, I'll do it for myself. It's not necessarily the skill set. They've not all developed. I never developed the skill set to take it to that level. So
takes a whole different person, doesn't it? The whole different ball game from running a small tight agency to trying to really grow up, because you've got to be able to set company culture. You need a different set of skills. You probably get to a point, and someone like Logan, he's got that skill set. To be a CEO, that's what you become, aren't you? You're CEO of the company. You start to not know everyone's name. You literally, you start.
Yeah, you don't know them well. There's people I didn't know well at all, and we were 40 people. I didn't know them well at all, and now at 11, I think I've got a good handle on it.
What do you think the biggest mistake you made there was?
I think we were building it for the wrong. Like, we took advice from people that were like, "You could sell this business." So we were like, "Well, how?" And they're like, "Well, you need a really clear structure. You need a leadership team. You need regimented organizational foundations. You need meetings, minutes at your meetings. You need processes documented. Offboarding, onboarding, HR systems. Like, there's all this shit we were doing. We were spending money on that.
Isn't it? Like you're like that.
Hey, everyone's fucking birthday, they were getting gifts, they were getting days off, they were getting this, they were getting that, and I was like, I didn't know anything was I didn't know what was going on. I was like, just keep spending it, and then you're like, people are taking a piss. Like, we're spending so much money on crap, and we're like, what are we doing? Like, culturally, there was some real positives, but it wasn't all working. And again, I don't think those things in isolation are bad investments, but when you're a business owner like me, who isn't wired in a way that needs to be around loads of people every day, like I'm not, it's just not the right fit. And as soon as I realized what I wanted, and I thought Amma wanted to grow, and he thought I wanted to grow. So we're both building this thing, thinking, fuck, I'm doing it for him, and he's like, I'm doing it for. And then when we actually had a chat at the end of 2022, we're both like, I don't fucking like this that much. He's like, I don't like it. And we're like, what are we doing then? What are we doing? Like,
I mean, you speak to a lot of people. Do you find that's a problem as well, where like partners aren't aligned? They're not actually speaking about because I think with partners sometimes as well, this is a really important thing, that they understand what each other are trying to get out of the business. So if they both go away and do the work and get their freedom numbers, at least you can go back and go, right, well, I need to get 3 million. Well, I need to get 2. At least you're like, well, either he's got to say, well, I'm going to stay with you until you do, or actually, when I hit mine, get mine, I'm on. But get that alignment, because I think partners aren't speaking about what they want.
We're 9 years old, and I'd say we've only done that properly in the last year.
Yeah.
So I think 2022 was where we hit our peak at the end, and then 23 was about trimming it back. 24 and 5 were about then. Sorry, 23 and 4, 24 and 5 was then about living it, testing it, keep tweaking it. And then the end of 25, 26 has been about, right, what is that number? Like, we're turning 40. We set it up at 30. Didn't really know what the fuck we were doing. We had a plan in 10 years we'd be out the game. Financially, we probably could be in some ways, but we're not, and we don't want to be yet. And we've got bigger plans for the family stuff. But we're lucky as well because we're the same age. we got married at the same time. We've both got little daughters the same year. You know, I've got 2 stepkids, so financially I've got a little bit more of a dependency than him, but our numbers are very similar, what we want from it, you know, and there's marginal change, but we're quite lucky. I think if one of us was a big mad spender and the other one wasn't, you might struggle, or one wanted to just purely grow and the other one didn't. But we're very similar. Like, we're very aligned on how we both want to commit to being around our kids and be a good husband and enjoy the fruits of the labor as a priority, rather than just put every single day into and every minute into a business that, you know, for what? You mentioned it on one of your posts the other day about, like, your daughter asked you a question and you weren't listening to the answer or something. And what
happens to all? It does happen, doesn't it?
Like, well, I've been there. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, when you're
guilty.
You know, you're talking about this externally all the time to everyone else, but then are you living it yourself? Do you make mistakes? How do you feel?
I mean, my missus is brilliant. She's like, she'll put it out to me. She'll be like, look at your post. Like, yeah, like, I feel guilty. Look, we build our business, don't we? Because we want to, like, give our family something better. But at the same time, sometimes that takes, you know, like, that presence away. And then for me, I'm talking about it as well. So, yeah, like, there's definitely a parent guilt that comes at times, because some things you have to do. And we were talking about it just as we got on air. Like, actually, like, for me, it's really putting that through a frame now and saying, is this taking me where I need it? Is this something I need to be doing? Do I need to be traveling somewhere or going somewhere or going to that meeting? You know, like, from, you know, what I love about some of the work you do, like, I can tell, by the way, like, I'm on LinkedIn a lot, as you know, and I can tell a recruiter that you work with, because I can tell because they're really, like, they're good engaging posts, even though it might not be a subject, because they're talking about the subject, but I can tell. I spoke to one last week and I was like, do you work with Sean? And it's like, yeah. And from that perspective, so yeah, it's just about that, managing that sort of guilt and, you know, and balancing it out and just trying to be present. And none of us.
What does your one day look like? Like, what's your future? What are you building towards?
I think it's changed a lot, because I came from, you know, a long background, you know, but I came from stockbroking. It was all about watches, cars, big house, everything, like, you know, and I realised that wasn't the measure of success, because I tell you what, when I got there and I made them, I felt miserable, absolutely miserable. I remember they bought this penthouse, like, flat in central London. I moved out. I'd been living with my mates beforehand. And I was, like, sitting there, and I got home on a Monday night, and I was like, this is crap, isn't it? Like, there's no one here. I thought this was going to fulfill me. And I think for me, the more time's gone on, is that the more I'm trying to simplify my life around what I want to do. I want to be able to spend my time doing what I want, when I want, with who I want. And that's, at the moment, it's spending my time with my family, my kids, you know, going out and doing those things. My youngest now 7. I've got a 19-year-old stepdaughter. Once they get to that age, yeah, they're gone. So there's a few more years of doing that. And then eventually I want to be, I like the work I do. It's helping people. But I think I'm 42 now. I think, you know, doing this at full pace for another, you know, 8 to 10 years, 50. And then actually I want to go out and train other advisors to do what I do. I can't envisage, like, stopping. I have to keep my foot in. I get bored really easily. Like, you know, I go on holiday. I'm not that, I've got to get up and do stuff. I can't sit around the pool. I've got to get up. So I want to explore. I want to travel, you know, travel a bit more, go to cities, you know, but not in a nice way as well. You want to.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think mine's very similar. Something you said before rings a bell with me, like the bit around the limiting belief and the ceiling that someone said, because I've been there, but I also now think it's the opposite. Like, I've got a number of profit I need to make a year so that I'm investing it wisely and that I'm 1 year closer to that goal, right? I've literally written the whole thing down. And the number's not that crazy compared to what we've done over the last few years. Like, it's more than achievable every year. Yeah. Like, if I carry on at the pace I'm at. So you might say, well, where's your ambition? Like, why are you not pushing it, Sean? Like, and I've had these moments in my head. I'm like, if I've done that already for 5 years, why not fucking double the expectation? But then I'm like, because it's enough.
Yeah. Because you've already been there.
Enough.
You've already been there as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
I
never made them. I doubled the people, but I never made double the money. No, I never made like crazy money off that bit. So actually, I'm making more money. I made more money last year with 10, 11 people than I made when we had 40.
Yeah.
So, but it's not even so much the people side. It's more like the pushing for. It's pushing for like more profit, for bigger numbers, for even if it is just solo. It's like working myself into the fucking ground for more income. But yeah, you can argue you get there faster, but I'm like, it is, if I've already worked out the number that contributes 1 year towards that goal and I hit that, that's enough. I've actually given myself the enough number for the year. Yeah. So if I can do that, the quicker I can do that in the year, the more chill out I can have. As long as I keep the wheels turning, the better the year can be.
Yeah. I think it comes back. You sort of hit the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's a bit like I said before. You end up going and earning this money to buy things that you think are going to make you successful and happy, but they don't. And like, I think you've now worked out like more money isn't going to make you. Look, you want to get. It's a balance between that level of lifestyle, putting enough away for the future, providing for your kids, doing that kind of thing. But you've worked out in your own head as well that if I can hit that is enough. I'm still going to leave legacy behind. I'm still going to do that, but I don't want to sacrifice my life now to be able to hit some mystery number that, because everyone tells me I should be more ambitious.
Yeah.
And it's not going to make me any happier. So
do you ever get though when you meet people that have got bigger goals? Do you ever have an ego? Does it ever flare your ego a little bit?
In what sense do you mean?
So like, I'll jump on a podcast with someone who's talking about exiting for 100 million, and it will definitely test me sometimes. I'm like, have I even got ambition? Like, am I a fucking joke? Like, what am I doing? And then I have to bring myself back to the plan and what I've been doing and what I've been up to, and like, it's enough, and I'm happy with it, and I can sort my head out. But there was moments in the past where, and again, maybe my show contributed to my own desire to grow and sell because everyone's talking about it every week. I interview someone who tells me it's great.
You're like in it.
Yeah.
Look, you have to be, don't you? Humans, like we compare. Like that's the thing we do. It's keeping up with the jet. You compare yourself. So if you're speaking to people on a regular basis, sometimes you go, he's doing really well. Like, hang on a minute. Like I'm only doing a little bit well compared to this guy. But yeah, I think you're right. You come away, you remind yourself of, you recenter yourself, you remind yourself of why you're doing it, and sometimes I always think of those people that have built genuine businesses that are worth that kind of money. They are built of different. Like I know this is an extreme example, but an Elon Musk, they're just built of different stuff. They're not doing it for money anymore. They're doing it for like a complete. They're just doing it because that is like, the thing that gets them out of bed in the morning is like building this empire and this big thing, and actually they're the ones as well when they sell that they'll get this big check and they'll be like, oh well, because the money isn't the satisfaction, is it? It doesn't. I think it's that whole thing is money doesn't buy you happiness. But money can, but using money to do the things that you love can buy happiness. Working out those things that you love and how much money you need to do that. That's your freedom, isn't it? From that perspective.
Well, my next question was going to be like, if everyone listening did one thing after this episode, like one simple takeaway, would that be it, or is there something you'd expand on?
I think if you're going to do one thing, it's put some time and attention into understanding money, what it means to you, and what you want it to do for you. And if you don't want to do it yourself, go and find someone that will do it for you. It's an investment in it. I think everyone in recruitment should have 3 or 4 people. I think they should have a great accountant. I think they should have a great mentor coach. I think they should have great sort of marketing people. And I think they should have a great financial advisor as well. So I think those.
What is the difference? Sorry because you've just sparked. And there's 2 other questions I've got actually.
Go on, please.
You sparked one. What is the difference between you and an accountant? Is what I'm sure people are thinking it.
Yeah. So an accountant generally keeps you compliant, looks backwards. They deal with your finances within your company. Not all, some are better than others. But what accountants generally don't do is look forwards and look proactively. They're always looking at where you are today, how you stay compliant, what tax you need to pay, how you make more things efficient. They're not generally saying, what do you want this to give you and how do you want to structure this and what's your life. So I think an accountant will look backwards. They'll keep you compliant. A financial advisor that does it well will be looking forwards and looking what you want from your life.
And the final thing I think that I hear the most is property, right? I've just bought one in the Middle East. We're talking about it off air. I think, what do you think of recruitment owners like using the money and the profit to invest in property as a strategy? Is it a lazy strategy, a dated strategy? What's your thoughts on it compared to the markets and the stuff that you lead into?
I think in some aspects it's completely insane. I'll be honest with you. In some aspects it's completely insane. Why do I say that? And I need to quantify that first and foremost. Owning property, particularly if it's UK based stuff, is a business in of itself. Like it's got its own ecosystem. It's got its own risk. The tax on it is absolutely crazy now. I think if you want to have a property portfolio, you've got to be looking at 5 to 10 properties, and you've got to ask yourself how much time that takes. Because when we're looking at investment, we want to look at return profile, risk. We want to look at time. We want to look at taxes. We want to look at cost. Okay. And I think it can be. I've got some clients with amazing property portfolios that are building that. It's ingrained in us because it's a tangible thing we can touch. It feels fantastic, and it feels we can go and touch that property and it's real. But actually, it's a liquid. You can't. It can be hard to get out of. It can be hard to sell. It's tax inefficient. So it's one of the questions I get asked most. And maybe I went a bit. I can see that getting clipped up. But why wouldn't you focus on your ROI of your business rather than getting this property? Because what I see most often is they go and buy a couple of properties, realise that the 300 quid a month it's actually netting them isn't worth the time when they could just go and do more placements, and they end up selling them at a load of cost and don't make anything from it.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort, a lot of headache, a lot of thinking, and I'm personally not that interested in it. I've done some training on it. I've bought one abroad. The one I bought was more of a lifestyle investment.
Yeah, well, I remember we talked about it before. Yeah.
I'm not sure it was a great investment now, 12 months later. So we, there's a debate whether I should sell it. I'm looking at that now. Hopefully the political landscape stabilizes and I've got more options. I think now, I'm speaking to agents. I don't even know if it's an option to sell right now, which is crazy. But I think it's really sensible to understand yourself, right? So if you're the type of person who wants to take on more and more things, great. But you said it yourself. I'm 100% aligned. If you're like me and you want to simplify, adding more work and another business which needs tenants and annual reviews and all that,
it's not passive. It's not passive income. It's not it's not. You don't just go and buy it and stick a tenant in it and they pay your bills every month. No. Yeah, and then what I've seen as well, a lot of clients is they leverage highly when interest rates will never go to 4 or 5%, and obviously that they've gone to that and it's just wipe the bottom line out of it. I've still got my flat in London, the one up the penthouse that I told you about, and for years and years it just rolled over, and 1,500 £2,000 a month interest rates just wiped it out, and in 10 years capital gains 0.
Wow.
Because it's just not grown in that particular area.
The value hasn't grown.
No.
I bought a property in London in 2015. I sold it in 2022, and I made £3,000 on a flat in London, which my business partner's still got one. It's lower. The value's down from what we paid.
I think mine's worth less than when I paid for it.
I think if you would have bought around the same time as us then in 2015, 16, 17, that was
16,
top of the market, wasn't it?
I think particularly for flats. And look, if I'd have bought at the same time in Walthamstow, that got gentrified and all that. Yeah, again, it's just sort of luck. It's complete luck. And and no one can tell me they know enough about the product, because if you could know enough to know what areas to buy in next. And look, property is right for you if you want to put that time and effort into it. It's not if you
just want to get a return. Yeah. What is your, we've not even said, like, what do you actually do? So someone's listening now and they're like, I like sound of Christian. I need to look at this at the age and profile I'm at. What's the process?
Well, I suppose first and foremost, let's have a conversation. Let's see where a short conversation. Let's see where you're at. If we think we can help you, we'll get into a longer one. And then if we engage, first and foremost starts with what's your we'll map that freedom number out properly for you. What does that look like? What are the gaps from where you are now, so that we can give you that roadmap of a bit like you said. What does my business need to do so that each year, I get closer and closer to that. Help you answer those questions around, should it be mortgage? Should it not be mortgage? Should I buy property? Should I not buy property? And by the way, if someone wants to buy property, I'm totally in for it. But I'm just there to help them make the right decision for them. What you're going to go away with at the end is a fully costed out plan with step by step, with all the key decisions made. And then we will work with you on an ongoing retained basis. Most of our clients work with us year after year to be there to help you make the decisions, to keep you on track, to recalibrate the plan year on year. Because look, the number's not just one and done. It moves. Like yours is going to move, isn't it? All the time. Things change in life. So that's what we're there for.
Christian, I hope you enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. It's a topic I'm just so interested in right now. I'm living it and breathing it. I hope I'm a decent guide of what's out there in terms of recruitment founders and age profile and stuff. So I hope people are thinking similar to me and they've enjoyed the session. I have. If anyone wants to get hold of you, I assume LinkedIn's the place, right?
LinkedIn's a place, yeah. Catch me on there. I spend enough time on there. I'm sure like you do yourself.
Exactly. Well, look, I hope people do reach out to you, and even if it's just for a bit of free advice. And I'll get you back on in the future, mate. Let's see how close we both get to our one-day goals, and we'll talk about it again for sure.
Definitely. Look, and I appreciate you taking the time, having me on. I know, as you say, a little bit of a different guest, but looking forward to that conversation again in the future and catching up. I know you don't get out of Sheffield too much these days, so I'm sure we'll catch up at some point.
Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the RAG podcast. If you haven't already, please do subscribe wherever you listen to this show, as the more subscribers we get, the more people will listen and the more recruitment owners we can help. As a recruitment founder, you must know that things are changing. AI is everywhere. Cold outreach is getting harder, and job boards, well, they're not what they used to be. But personally, despite the negativity, I believe the future is the greatest opportunity of our lifetime in recruitment, because for the first time ever, a founder with 5 recruiters with a clear niche and the right systems can build the kind of influence, reach, and profitability that used to take 500 recruiters and a global office network. The agencies that are winning right now aren't necessarily the biggest, but they are the most visible, the most trusted, and the ones building inbound demand. At Hoxo, we're working with clients who are running multiple 6 and 7 figures in net profit, outperforming the negative noise and headlines. So, to explain what these guys are doing, I've created a brand new free masterclass video for RAG listeners. In this video, it's less than 10 minutes long. I'm going to show you what these businesses are doing differently from the rest. So the link's in the description. Fill in the form, watch the video, and see exactly how this system that these clients are using could work for your agency. Good luck.